How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is September 26, 2017, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. I got fallout from the No Mercy show here today with Raw. We have got a bunch of other news as well. Dave, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Not too much. I thought it was just kind of like, I don't know. Nothing really exciting on Raw other than Enzo Amore's turn, which was fascinating, I suppose.
That was pretty fascinating, all right. He did a hell of a job. He was very, very annoying, and he turned this crowd. It was amazing. I mean...
Yeah. So what's the purpose?
Well, he's a heel, and everyone's going to chase him, and he's going to have bad matches, and fluke into wins, and it's going to suck, but they think it's elevating the brand. Because he's a star.
The thing is that his big thing was selling merchandise, and this is going to kill his merchandise sales.
Oh, man. Maybe that's his punishment.
And then the other thing is that he's a star because he comes out and he does this catchphrase with everybody, and he does SAWFT soft. And as a heel, you can't do any of that stuff. So what value is he as a heel other than he's a bad wrestler? Do you think people are going to... It's like he's a gimmick. I mean, we'll see, but do you think people are really going to care about a championship that he's got when he's a heel?
Well, all I know is since moving to 205 Live, they've cared less and less every single week, so I don't think it matters one way or the other. I mean, he was on his way down. What the hell can you do with the guy? And I wouldn't have turned him heel. But
you could. Well, I don't see any purpose in turning him heel because that just defeats the whole purpose of having him. You know, I mean, what he doesn't have any great marketability as a heel. I don't think. I mean, we'll see. He can, he can be obnoxious and all, but I'm not sure what good that is. I mean, I guess we'll see with the, if he gets the audience of 205 Live up. I mean, he got it up for 1 week, and that was it. I mean, after that, it was right back to where it was. So, Neville's now a babyface, which, I mean, I can see that in the sense that Neville's probably, I think people know how good Neville is, so it's probably, and when they did the interview last Tuesday, I mean, the people were kind of booing Enzo, and they were kind of cheering Neville. It wasn't like it was a big deal. It more felt to me, because this was the Oakland crowd, where it was such a small crowd, where it's just kind of like the hardcores who kind of knew that Enzo isn't that good. And I think that maybe they overreacted to the hardcores and go, well, it wasn't like he was being booed heavy. It was like very small boos for Enzo. They weren't cheering him, but part of that was also how he was booked. And then, I don't know, maybe the idea is that everybody reacted so big to his championship win that they feel, they reacted so big, we'll make him a heel because everybody hated his championship win. And that way, but it doesn't always work that way. That mentality of like, because the people hated it, if we turn him heel, it's going to mean more business. I mean, sometimes that works, but sometimes when people hate it, it's because they hate it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean. Well, the show opened up with Miz out for Miz TV with Roman Reigns, speaking of guys that people hate. And Miz noted that last night Cena said it was a career-defining moment for Roman. And Roman says, listen, I respect John Cena now. He backed up everything he said. Fact is, he held down this fort for 15 years. I respect the guy. It was the biggest win of my career. But I'm tired, I'm sore. I don't know why I'm out here sitting talking to an idiot like you. And so they banter back and forth, and Roman says, listen, you needed these two geeks to beat Jason Jordan last night. How about they go backstage and give me a beer? Trying to get a babyface pop with the beer line. And Miz says, you showed up with your own Miztourage, the Shield. And if we'd been around when the Shield debuted, there wouldn't even have been a Shield. And Roman laughs.
So that's where we're going. The Miztourage against the Shield.
So I was going to talk about this later, but what the hell? Since you brought it up, I'll talk about it now. They're going to do a Shield reunion after all these years, a full-fledged Shield reunion.
Against the Miztourage.
And it's against Miz and the Axeman and Bo Dallas.
Yes.
Do you remember when The Rock came back and teamed with John Cena and they gave him Miz and Truth? What a fucking disaster that was.
Yeah, but what makes it even better is that the Miztourage lost to Jason Jordan and Matt Hardy on television tonight.
What is happening here? Like, have they lost their minds?
No, you know what it is? It's they've gotten in a position. This is really what this really is. This, I said it before. They're in a position where they're pretty much guaranteed that they're going to make money no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the crowd, they're going to get, I mean, I know crowds are down right now, but it's like if you book really badly or whatever, I mean, it's like, they're not like living and dying on live attendance anyway, because they're in this mentality of that doesn't, because it's not like, they don't live or die on live attendance. Okay. And TV ratings, they've convinced themselves that doesn't count because of, what streaming and whatever. So like the only thing that really sort of counts is network subscriptions, but they've also convinced themselves, and maybe it's true, and it's probably true, that that's a seasonal thing and it doesn't really matter there either. So essentially they have the whole thing is that like they're going to make money anyway. They may not make as much money as they could, but they're going to make money. But none of the usual, barometers count anymore. So because they don't count, if it does badly, if things do badly, like they'll go, well, our social media numbers are up because, they can't go down. I mean, I suppose they could, but they don't. So what happens is there's no pressure on them that like, in the past, like if you were a promotion and you were booking bad and business was going down, there's pressure on you because, you start losing money, or even if you're making less money and it's significant to your bottom line. I mean, in the sense of your success, that you're making less money because you feel it. Here, it's like if they make, let's say they make $6 million profit in a quarter or $4 million profit in a quarter. And, it's like it doesn't really make that big of a difference because they're a publicly traded company and, everyone's looking at the long term. And the reality is that none of this booking is long term anyway. So because of all that, it's like they just essentially, there's no pressure to necessarily do things big. I think that there was pressure on this. The feeling was, to get the network number up, they did this big pay-per-view at the end of September, which is, right before they announced the numbers. But now we're going into October, and it doesn't really matter what the number is again until the end of December. So it's kind of like, I mean, I guess Survivor Series is kind of a big show, but we're at a coast period. So,
well, hold on. Even going back to No Mercy, I mean, you're right. They got to get the network numbers up, but I mean, Lesnar and Strowman was going to take place in July, and it just ended up getting delayed due to injury and whatever. And I think the reason they put John Cena, Roman Reigns on the show is because Cena's leaving. So it's like either do it now or you don't do it.
Yeah, well, no, he's not leaving for forever. He's just leaving.
Well, no, but he's going to be leaving until Mania season, and then they're going to do whatever they're doing from Rumble to Mania with him. So, I mean, unless I don't think they're doing Roman Cena at Mania. So,
I don't think he's gone that long. I mean, how long does it take to shoot a movie? 6 weeks.
I don't know. He's the main guy, so they got to do all of the principal filming, and he'll have to do any extra stuff he has to do afterwards. And they probably don't want him to get hurt, so he could be out till the Rumble.
Doesn't take that long to shoot. When the guys do movies, they're usually gone, 2 months maybe tops, 6 weeks?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't even know when he starts doing it, but I mean, it was clear tonight that he's not here this week and next week, and
he's not
gone for a while.
He's going to be gone for a while. I made it clear he's going to come back. I'm not exactly sure when he's coming back, but no. The thing with Strowman and Lesnar is that you got to remember that they had no idea it was going to be this big, and then when they got there, they booked it like they did have no idea it was going to be this big because he just beat him, in a kind of a nothing match.
So anyway, back to the show. Roman challenges Miz to a fight, and Miz tries to back off. And he actually did such a good job chickening out of this match that the fans booed him and cheered Roman, which is quite the accomplishment. And Kurt came out, and he signed Roman versus Miz, and also Jordan and Matt Hardy versus the Miz Taraj for later. Fans cheered Kurt, fans cheered Matt, fans booed Jason Jordan.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is that it's kind of weird because it's like Miz is out there talking about how he's got the only championship and all this. And then when they have the match, the championships, it's like they don't even mention the championship because they don't tell you it's non-title. They just don't tell you it's a title match. So, so Miz wins, and it's like, if that title, you know what I mean? It's like, it basically, you know, what's the value of that title when he
There
wins?
is no value. It's something to put on Miz's shoulder so he can talk.
Yeah.
We had Matt and Jason versus the Miz Taraj, and they're claiming now, Jeff was out there, didn't wrestle, they're claiming that he hurt himself last week when he delivered a stacked-up superplex and took practically no bump whatsoever.
You know, the injury was in July at the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But just got worse and worse till... So he's probably been working with a torn rotator cuff since July. And, just gutted it through until he just couldn't do it anymore. So, yeah.
So they...
Hopefully he gets... You know what? Since he's going to be out, he probably should get his knee taken care of, too. Since he's going to be out for 6 months.
Probably get everything taken care of.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
In terms of injuries. So, Babyfaces ran wild, went through a commercial break. Dallas tried a cradle on Matt, ate a side effect, broke down into a four-way. Jordan hits an overhead belly-to-belly on Curtis Axel. Matt hits a twist of fate on Bo. They got the pin. It's a fun match. Nothing really to it, but it was fun.
It's all right. Yeah.
We have the big rematch from the pre-show, Elias versus Apollo. Elias sang, Apollo interrupted, they had a match. Booker T claimed that Apollo Crews had more athleticism than anybody else in the entire company.
He's close. He really is. He's pretty close. The thing, Booker T, by the way, tonight, he had a really bad night again, because it was really clear over and over that he doesn't pay any attention to what's going on, including what's right, even the stuff he's broadcast himself. Like when he started getting in the argument with Cole about, what's Tozawa done? And he like completely forgot that he had held the championship. And I mean, it was on and on, it's like he gets in these weird things, like with Goldust. He started, when Finn Balor talks about Goldust being his friend, he's like, oh, it's a whole new locker room. He isn't friends with any of these guys. And it's like, yeah, but he's in this locker room. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, because Booker and Goldust are friends, and Booker and Goldust are from the same generation, and Booker doesn't know anybody. He says, Goldust is from my generation, so he doesn't know anybody, except Goldust is out there every single night with all these guys. And it was just like constant stuff all night long with Booker that was just like really, he'd say these things. I'm going like, dude, you're not paying any attention to this. And like he would praise heels in a manner and bury baby faces in a manner when, not in a manner that's like building their character or being a heel announcer. It just was like really, he was just all over the place.
So they had a spot where Drifter was sent outside and Apollo wiped him out, and then him and Titus are having a celebration. And as they're celebrating, Drifter gets mad and kicks out Titus's leg. And, of course, Apollo's distracted. Elias kicks him, hits his neck breaker for the pin. And he's going after Titus after the match, and Titus fires up in his suit, and he gives him a beating in the corner, and the Drifter sent packing. So maybe they're going to do the Drifter and Titus O'Neil in a singles match. Can you imagine?
Yeah, they'll probably do that at TV next week, I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know, but that's what it seemed like to me. So I'm sure they'll keep it short. So it'll just be what it is. I mean, I can't imagine. Like, do you really think you're going to book Titus and the Drifter in a 10-minute match or even an 8-minute match?
I put nothing past him, but it's unlikely.
Yeah, it's just, probably be a 3-minute match and a quick win. I mean, because this match was, how long?
I mean, for crying out loud, Enzo went 11 minutes last night with Neville.
Yeah, but that was for a championship. This was a 2.5-minute match with Cruz. So I mean, if they're only giving him 2.5 minutes with Cruz, they ain't giving him much longer with Titus.
Finn's backstage. Thanks Bray for doubting him as a man, pushing him to the limit. Thanks him for making him do things he didn't know he could do in that ring. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, this scripting of him was really bad too.
There was some bad scripting on this show. This wasn't even the worst of it. Charlie wanted to know what's next. He says the Universal title. So
I'm figuring that's probably Survivor Series then.
That's what it looks like. Although Roman's also saying the same thing, and I don't think that's Survivor Series. So
Roman's probably WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But it's because they got to get through this pay-per-view. It feels like Finn's going to be wrestling Bray Wyatt one more time.
Oh my God! When they played that stupid song after that thing, I just died a little inside. And I liked the match last night. but
I didn't like it that
I'm
much.
ready for something else. I don't need to see it again.
Well, here's the other thing too. Is like, unfortunately, because of the situation with Bray Wyatt, they haven't figured out is that like every program that he's in, people like tune out of. So it's like you basically put a guy in limbo by feuding with Bray Wyatt.
That's correct. We had Hawkins in the ring. He's sick of his 118-match losing streak, issues an open challenge. Strowman's music hits, and Kurt runs for his life. Escapes through the crowd. Strowman goes after him, sprints through the crowd to get his hands on him. Choke slams him through a table outside. Running power slam through the video wall. Everybody's going nuts. Heads to the ring and says, I'm on a path of destruction tonight, and I'm not leaving until someone comes out for a real fight. Dean Ambrose accepts. He's got his shoulder taped up. They had your classic big man, little man match. It's pretty good, although it was so weird seeing Braun Strowman on his path of destruction putting Dean Ambrose in a shoulder lock in the middle of this match.
Well, the thing with this match, because of what they did and everything, it was pretty good. But if you watch like the wrestling aspect of it early, it was not very good. I mean, it was just like, people got into it because they did the big moves and everything, but you can really, the last two nights have really shown Strowman's weaknesses.
Ambrose runs him
and probably Ambrose's as well tonight.
Runs him into the post outside, goes for a dive. Strowman catches him. Dean turns it into a DDT.
That was a really cool spot.
Strowman did his favorite spot, run really fast and smash into something. But then eventually he catches and power slams Dean for the pin. Somehow he power slammed him and screwed up his own finish and landed on his own face. I don't even know how he did that, but he did. Got the win. Match was fun.
It turned out all right. Yeah, people were into it. Yeah.
So Angle's backstage with Enzo. Enzo's being super annoying. Wants a celebration for his title win. Kurt is just stunned. He says, not sure that win was worthy of a celebration. And Enzo says, listen, everybody who wins a title gets celebration. I want mine. He's being all annoying. And Kurt says, fine, you can have it. And he says, by the way, since this is your first title, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. Enzo looks at him and says, nah, I'm good. Leaves.
I actually I love that spot. Except, obviously Enzo shouldn't be a heel, but since he's going to be, I actually thought that was like pretty cool.
If he's going to be a heel, he's doing a hell of a job. He's super annoying.
Yeah, he is. The thing is what they've done is they've transferred the idea that because he is super annoying in real life, that he needs to be a heel, not understanding that what got him over to the fans is because the fans don't think he's super annoying unless you tell them over and over again, which they've been doing. But it's like, that's, like, put it this way. If Enzo Amore was a heel in NXT, he wouldn't have had a prayer of getting over in NXT or getting out of NXT. The only thing he had going for him is the catchphrase, and, pretty much that's it, is the catchphrase. That's what got him over. That's what got Cass over, was they would come out, do the thing. It got super, super over. Got over on the main roster instantly. And, so now they're taking it away, and it's like he doesn't have anything else.
So next up, we had Seth backstage with Dean, and Seth says, can you curb your self-destructive habits? And Dean says, this is self-improvement. And they have a very wooden dialogue back and forth. This was another one of those badly scripted segments. And basically, Ambrose is saying, you need to be less predictable. Seth says, well, I'll prove I'm not predictable. I'm going to go request a match with Braun Strowman next week, which is about the most predictable thing he could have done as the guy's tag team partner.
Yep.
He says, I'm going to go out there and beat up Sheamus first. Quite phony here.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a problem. I didn't have that much of a problem with this one compared to some other stuff, but whatever. It was, it sets up an interesting match for next week. I guess so if Braun beats Seth, I'm just wondering where the pieces fall in for the next pay-per-view. I'm figuring we got like a 6-man tag with the Shield. So where would Strowman... God, would Strowman like do a handicap match against Ambrose and Rollins?
Well, if you're doing the Shield, then that's out of the question.
Well, then that's out of the question, sure. So,
you could get rid of the Axeman and Bo and have like Miz, Braun Strowman, and some other heel against the Shield. That would be way better.
Without a doubt, way better. Yeah, that actually would be good.
Alexa Bliss doing a promo. She says the fans don't like her, but she considers them a friend. She's very disappointed in her friends, how they've treated her. Nobody was tweeting her about her awesome win last night. They only cared about Bayley and Sasha. She says she cleaned out the entire women's division. Out comes Mickie James. And last night on Raw Talk, Alexa had buried her, and so Mickie is cutting a promo on her. She wants her to say what she said on the show. Alexa's refusing. Talks about how she's been winning titles since Alexa was in a training bra. Dares her to tell her to her face what she said, and finally Alexa says, "Fine, I'll say it, you're an old lady." And Mickie slaps her twice, super kicks her, Alexa bails. Talking-wise, this was pretty good.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss was really... Actually, they were both
They
really
were both good. They were both very good here.
Yeah. The only thing is like it's that same thing that they have of aging their competitors when they don't need to do it. You know, like you say someone's an old lady, you know, even if it's for heat, what you basically categorize them as past their prime. And I mean, in a sense, that is how she's booked. But I just don't see, like, it's the same thing with Cena. When Cena was on and he just goes, "I'm 40." And it's like, you know, why are you saying, I mean, yeah, you're 40. That's true. But why are you saying that? Because when you say it, then people think you're an athlete, you're done. And, you know, he doesn't look done. You know what I mean? It's like if he looked like an old man or she looked like an old lady, you know, then you've got to, you know, play the part. I mean, then you've got to work with what you got. You know what I mean? You work, but she's not looking that old by any means. You know what I mean? Or that out of shape or anything to where she's got to play this role like that. And what you've basically done is age her before her time. Although, in this case, it isn't so bad because the reality is they were doing nothing with her anyway. So whatever they do is like a plus. But I just like, you know, it's like Vince has that thing. You know, he you know, the Vince and the age thing is like really weird because it's like I remember Jerry Jarrett talking to him once, and this is in the 90s, and it was when he was basically of the mindset that Hogan, Piper, and Randy Savage were all done because they were all over 40. And Jerry Jarrett, of course, had booked, you know, Jackie Fargo and Roughhouse Fargo and Bill Dundee and all these guys, you know, when they were over 40 and made money with them. And, you know, he never said, you know, oh, you know, I mean, Jackie Fargo was clearly an old guy coming back, you know, once or twice a year. And you knew it, but you never said Jackie Fargo's 50 years old. I mean, the people knew he was old. Bill Dundee, who was there every week, you know, he was in his mid-40s, but he dyed his hair and he didn't look that old. And they never, you don't tell people that if you're trying to draw money with them. And Vince's thing is, well, you know, they're, you know, when they were going to WCW, well, these guys are old, they're not going to be able to draw anymore. And Jerry Jarrett's like, they've had all this TV, they're superstars, you know, they're going to draw. And of course they did for years. You know, eventually they didn't but that was, you know, that was as much WCW incompetence that killed them off anyway, as much as age. I mean, age had a factor, and at a certain point, age does have a factor. But, you know, it's that same thing. It's just like he gets in their head that they're old, and it's like, to the people at home, I mean, if you look like an old person, you've got to, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, just, it's the Vince thing.
Seth Rollins versus Sheamus. Seth did his big dive to the outside early, went for a springboard, got caught and given a backbreaker. So Sheamus worked him over for a while, finally went for the brogue kick. Seth avoided it, super kick as he's coming off the top, Rainmaker knee, 1, 2, 3. And that was it. Just did the match, nothing special.
Yeah, just a quick match.
Yep.
Cesaro was out there, never would open his mouth.
That's right.
So he's getting surgery, right? This week. So he didn't break
Dude, his doctor
teeth.
said something like, we'll have him back in action by Tuesday. I mean, I presume they're talking next Tuesday. Can't possibly be talking today.
Well, he doesn't have anything. He wouldn't have any match till the weekend. So, so he didn't break his teeth and he didn't lose his teeth. The teeth were jammed into his gums. So at first, the story was that they were going to remove the teeth in surgery and, you know, give him new teeth. But now I think they're going to try to save his, you know, like do like a, what's it called, a root canal and save his teeth, I think is the idea. So it'll be one or the other. So, yep. So I can't, it doesn't matter Tuesday. He's not booked till Friday, and I can't imagine him. I mean, I guess he could work this week, and I don't know. I can't see him that quick after oral surgery. You're going to work a match? I don't know.
Finn Balor's walking backstage and says, "Hey, Goldie." And Goldust says, "Don't call me Goldie. I'm Gold Dust." He says, "What gives you the right to take shots at me? I'm not a victim. I didn't ask for your help against Bray. I didn't need your help. I can do this all by myself." He says, Finn says, I'm your friend. I apologize if I offended you. And Goldust says, "You're right. I'm sorry." Then he attacks him, lays him out, turns heel, tells him to keep his friends close and his enemies closer.
And he said it was from The Godfather, even though that was...
Actually, I guess, did you really turn heel? Because in that feud with Truth, wasn't he a heel the whole time? When was he a babyface? Just that 1 week?
He was babyface for the Bray Wyatt match, and he was babyface on the house shows for a couple of weeks. Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Very, very short turn right there.
Yeah, turn right back. Yeah.
Then we had the clips of Cena on Raw Talk, and he says it felt like a burden had been lifted off of his shoulders in the best way possible. He's 40 years old, 15 years of WWE experience, doesn't know how much longer he can keep it up. He's not done, but he doesn't know if he can keep going at the pace he's going. Says transition is tough but wonderful. If there is a torch, it was not passed to Roman Reigns. It was taken by him.
Whatever. Whatever. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like, if he's doing an interview and it's like off TV saying, you know what, my body's beaten up and I don't know if I can go at the same level. I mean, that's fine. But I don't think you should ever do that as part of your TV show and basically say that this guy who's still by far your biggest draw is admitting that he's not what he once was. I just think that's so counterproductive. And they've done that for Cena for a while, where they basically, it's that whole thing where, he's about to turn 40, so Vince is of that mindset. I mean, granted, he's going to be spending less and less time wrestling and he's spending more and more time acting, so I get that. But you don't need to tell people when he comes back that, by the way, this is a past his prime John Cena. I just don't understand the mentality of that at all.
We had the big Roman Reigns versus Miz match. Miz Taraj worked over Roman outside. He made his comeback. He got distracted again. Went back and forth, more Miz Taraj interference, and finally, Miz goes for a DDT. Roman kicks out, avoids the skull-crushing finale, spears him for the pin. Match was fine, and then afterwards they did the big angle, which is... So think about this, by the way. Miz Taraj attacks Roman Reigns, they lay him out, they stomp a mud hole in him, they waffle him with chairs, skull-crushing finale in a chair. They pose over him, they do the Shield fist bump. This took so long that at one point in the middle of the beating, Miz and the Miz Taraj left, and then they came back, they continued to beat on him. It's one of those Vince McMahon things where if it's a heavy heat angle, you just got to beat the guy for like 10 straight minutes. There's no Dean Ambrose. There's no Seth Rollins. It's not like they didn't have time. It's not like they weren't in the building.
Well, I don't think they want to get there that quick.
But it's just ridiculous as a viewer to see this guy beaten for 10 straight minutes.
And nobody saves.
And nobody comes out to save this guy.
Well, we've been seeing that in wrestling for 100 years. Where you got a dressing room full of people, and why does nobody save whoever?
Well, not for 100 years, because until about 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, if this would happen, the Horsemen would be locked in a locker room with a forklift holding them back, or something crazy. They'd have something to explain it. They've given up on that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There would be, and you know what? There would be, there would be baby faces, because in the past they would just have the baby faces come out at a certain point. And the only way you wouldn't is when you had the cage. Because if you had the cage, then the babyface couldn't make the save, and that's when you did those kind of angles, and you only did them, once or twice a year. So, yeah, it probably would have made more sense for them to drop a cage and destroy him, and that way nobody can save him. But they don't really think about that, and I don't think the fans do anymore either, because they're used to there's not a thing where wrestling makes sense anymore to where to where, you've grown up on a wrestling that makes sense. So therefore, when it doesn't make sense, you go like, well, why don't these guys say...
I would normally agree with you, except the whole story of this show from the very first segment was that Miz was talking about the Shield, and, if the Shield had been here, it was all about the Shield. Roman even said, Roman admitted they're buddies, but they're all doing their own thing. We saw both guys, they had matches, they're done for the night. They weren't doing their own thing. On this particular show, it's right there in front of you. Where are these guys?
Well, they could have done a segment where those guys, after their match, go, let's go out to dinner.
Sure.
And that way at least...
They got 3 hours. It would have taken 10 seconds.
10 seconds to pull that one off, yeah. But they don't feel the need to. That's the whole point. This is not George Scott or Roy Shire or, bookers that are sitting there like Bill Watts looking for these things and going like, well, this doesn't make any sense. So we have to do something to make it make sense. These are people who are just throwing stuff out there. And then when it doesn't make sense, they're going like, it's only wrestling. It doesn't need to make sense. That's the mentality. They'll accept it. And look, I've seen bookers that were like that in the past too. Believe me, I remember when things didn't make sense and they go, it's wrestling fans. They'll come up with their own answer. It's like...
Well, God damn, that's all I do is come up with my own answer. But what about everybody else?
Yeah, no, but it's funny because those bookers that, I remember like the bookers that would do that thing. It's like, I always knew when they would tell me, it's like, you ain't going to be in business for very long. And in those cases, I can tell you that everyone who did that was not in business very long. Because the ones who stayed in business were the ones. But now it doesn't matter. They got, it's the whole economics are different and the fans are different. So, yeah, they should have done it. It would have taken 10 seconds to do it. They didn't do it.
Finn Balor and Goldust. Goldust worked over his ribs.
I'll tell you what, if they're building Finn Balor up, it's not that big of a deal, but to me, like, if they're building Finn Balor up for Brock Lesnar, boy, I thought that he sold a lot in this match. But,
Well, he had his ribs injured the night before. And I was fine with that.
Yeah, no, and the other thing, too, is it's a couple of months. It's not like it's happening, like, in 2 weeks. If it's happening in 2 weeks, I would, be more on that. So, yeah, I don't know. It was, but yeah, this was the match where Booker T's commentary was just weird. Yeah, it was just weird.
So Finn won with a double foot stomp, and then the lights went out, and someone sang a very modern version of "Whole World in His Hands." I I cringed.
I did too.
Did anybody not?
It's like, oh my God, they're going to go back to that feud. It's like I thought that Finn Balor had finally escaped the ravages of that program.
Speaking of cringing, Bayley and Sasha backstage. Just the most awkward segment you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, yeah. But
all this wooden dialogue. They're upset with each other about last night, and Sasha says, we got to get over it. We have a tag match tonight. We got to take out Nia, the girl who tried to end our careers. Enzo's with Kurt. Says, listen, I want a no-contact clause. Any cruiserweight touches me, they forfeit their chance at the title. Kurt is so annoyed, he just says, fine, get out of here. So he gets his paper. We had Emma and Nia versus Bayley and Sasha. Nia single-handedly destroyed both of them early. They got the heat on Bayley, worked over her bad shoulder. Sasha gets a tag, breaks down into a four-way. In the middle of this, Nia's taken out. She does the old Braun Strowman run real fast and hit the post. And then
Bayley threw her into the post, I think.
Then Bayley gets a blind tag, hits Emma with the belly to Bayley, wins. Sasha's not jealous about the blind tag. They hug, they celebrate, and Nia fumes outside. So now that they appear to be buddies again, it must be inevitable that one's going to turn.
Well, they've been teasing the Bayley-Sasha turn for 100 years now. So,
when it happens, is anyone going to care at this point?
The thing is like they don't really have enough baby faces to turn either one of them. So I think that's probably why they haven't. Because if you remember, Sasha was going to be healed by WrestleMania, and they just kept putting it off. But because it's like what baby faces do they have? Like Mickie James, they've decided is too old to be a baby face. Be a serious baby face. Bayley, they've killed. I guess the idea is Nia is going to be a baby face when this is all said and done, but he still, I don't know. Maybe at that point they'll turn Sasha. I don't know.
So Enzo comes out for his victory celebration. He's ranting on the mic about haters. Everyone's just jealous like Big Cass. Says, I can't believe Cass said I held him back. I'm the champion. He's hobbling around. I'm the one holding him up. He says all those people that chanted, you can't wrestle. He said people like Cena, Rock, and the Batista got that chant. He's retiring his certified G jersey. The fans by this point are dead quiet. Says he made 205 Live relevant. Out come the cruiserweights. He starts to bury them one by one, including calling Grand Metalik fat. Says he has a gut, there's no way he's under 205. Finally, out comes Neville.
So are they saying that they don't actually weigh these guys?
That's what he insinuated there.
Oh, man. There's like a commission issue here, isn't there?
There sure is.
Maybe he does that.
Well, we don't know for sure because he could be lying about his weight. I mean, maybe Grand Metalik is under 205.
I think he is. I think when they weighed him, I think when he came in, he was like 170, wasn't he?
Well, I don't think he's gained all that weight since then. Maybe he has.
He looked exactly the same as he did when he first came in.
Well, Enzo's full of shit then.
Yeah, he sure is.
So Neville comes out. Enzo says, where's your crown? Oh, it's on the shoulder of a real man. And Neville cuts a promo on him. Basically says, you were dumped on the doorstep of 205 Live because nobody else wants you. So I guess they're like the bottom of the barrel. Says the supposed...
Pretty much said it. Well,
he did.
Look. It's like everything they do is like... Well, look at like this whole segment basically was that these guys were all losers until Enzo got here. And now, because Enzo's in the group, we'll give him a push. But, he's like above all of them as stars. That's the whole story.
So Neville cuts a promo saying Enzo made a joke out of the wrestlers, the division, and the title. And he made a joke out of Neville. He says on behalf of the entire division.
Enzo said how he makes more money in merchandise than all the rest of them combined, which essentially like buries that division something fierce, even though it's probably true.
Well, I think the idea is that he's full of shit. So,
but it was true.
I know, but I think that as fans, we're supposed to believe that he's making this up and he's just being a jerk.
I don't think fans believed he was making this up.
Well, I'm sure they don't either. They're savvy, but I think that's the idea.
Yeah, because, they can look around and see, Enzo merchandise, and I don't see any, like, Grand Metalik merchandise or Cedric Alexander merchandise anywhere.
So Neville gets in the ring. Enzo says, listen, I got this clause. If you touch me, you're never going to touch this title again. And Enzo says, look what time it is. It's hour 3, the main event. In 9 months as champion, you never main evented one time. The reason you're out here right now is because of me. I'm a star.
That sure buried him, didn't it?
I'm the money. You can't touch me, and you know it. Get out of my ring. So, of course, Neville kicked him, tossed him into his jersey, tossed him into the barricade, stuffed the no contract clause into his mouth, finally gave him the red arrow as all of the cruiserweights cheered. Many fans cheered, but this was no Steve Austin reaction, and that was the end of Raw.
So, after Raw...
It got worse for Enzo.
They had Strowman come out and destroy him, and then all the other cruiserweights came out, and they each gave Enzo their finishing move to end the show.
Well, that's one way to send the fans home happy.
I guess.
Braun Strowman killing Enzo. If that happened every week, this show would be doing better numbers. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, but look at how they make the cruiserweight division into a complete joke.
Well, yeah. So Maria is pregnant.
Yep.
Look at that.
Yep.
So we've gone from a debut to one guy going into rehab to his wife getting pregnant.
Yeah. Well, so that explains why she hasn't been around the last couple weeks. And she's 13 weeks pregnant. So that means about, 27 weeks to go?
Yep, 3 months ago.
Yep.
So the Bullet Club deal today, what happened?
So I guess somebody had this idea, and how they did. It's actually pretty clever the way the idea came through. So they were telling people, we don't have. I guess they were all together. They're all together because they were in Vegas, and I guess they were all hanging out together. It was Adam Page and the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes, and Marty Scurll. So. They did the 2 shows in Vegas, and I guess they came to LA for this. So the idea is like, let's go to the mall in Ontario, because the mall in Ontario is like, walking distance from the arena. then they have a Hot Topic there. So we'll make a guest appearance at a Hot Topic, and it'll be a surprise. But they go on the internet to tell everyone. So there's a big crowd. Actually, there's a really big crowd there waiting for them when they got there. So then they tell everyone, let's go to Raw. So they got this big crowd, and their dad's filming, or I think their dad was filming, but somebody was filming. And they're going there, and they invade Raw. They basically just spoof of the DX invasion of Raw, of Nitro, I should say, from 1998. And, you know, right down to like every corny thing, like talking to a fan. I mean, I'm sure WWE, to an extent, probably like got a kick out of it, but there were a couple points where it was like, I'm sure they didn't, such as when they went to a fan and the fan goes, I didn't buy tickets, you know, and they're going like, oh, they had to paper this house, you know, because it's especially bad because they had another bad crowd tonight, and then to go in there and say that they papered it, you know, with, you know, even so. So they did that, and then they do the thing of like, are you people here to see the WWE? And everyone goes, no, which is exactly what made WCW uncool. And they're making the WWE uncool. And it goes, are you here to see, you know, the Elite? And then they're chanting the Elite, the Elite, and all that stuff. So they did that, and then they do the one, you know, the one where, you know, let our friends go. So they go like Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, Finn Balor, you know, we're here, you know, like that. And, you know, they're on that loudspeaker. I mean, it's a total copy. And then Cody starts like doing this like speech from the movie Independence Day. You know what I mean? Just doing it. And Hangman's talking about how he was kidnapped by the WWE, and, you know, and I guess the idea is that they that like in their cease and desist stuff that they're not allowed to say fuck the revival. They're not allowed to say too sweet. They're not allowed to say suck it. And what else are they not allowed? And Marty can't use the umbrella, I guess, because of the Jack Gallagher thing. Which, by the way, I mean, this is all storyline. There's nothing to any of this, but you know, so they're and Cody doesn't, and Cody can't use. This is what I did think was pretty funny, was when they go like, we're coming there, we're gonna get our, you know, stuff back, and Cody's gonna get his last name back, which that's the one thing he didn't get, is his last name back. So that one's actually real. So that's what happened. So they were there, and yep, that was the deal.
All right, let's do some of the mailbag questions right here. Mailbag at WrestlingObserver.com. This person says, do you guys think that since Neville sacrificed his shot at ever being Cruiserweight champion tonight, he will start to compete?
He'll be getting a shot soon enough. They'll figure out a way out of it.
Well, he wants to know if the way out is he'll stop being a Cruiserweight.
I don't think so.
This person has any idea if Dave has any insight where this Enzo angle leads?
Well, it leads to Enzo against Neville. Just probably they'll probably just, this is probably a way to delay it for a couple months, and maybe I'll work with Rich Swann first, because that was one of the guys he insulted. So, or somebody else, maybe Cedric. He did insult Cedric as well. And it's a way to keep Neville from getting a shot for a while, to make so when he gets it, it's a bigger deal. I think it could be he gets a shot next week and they just forget it. I don't know.
This person says, why did One Man Gang not wrestle for almost 4 years between late 91 and late 95? Did he have a Lloyd's of London policy or something?
I don't remember. He may have just gotten a job that, you know, outside of wrestling.
This person says, do you think that WWE will ever have Brock Lesnar do a match on Raw where they promote it several weeks ahead of time? And if they did, do you think it would be a rating success?
Depends on who it's against. If it was just a match to have a match, no. If it was a match that was built up well, yes. I think it would make a difference. Will they do it? I don't see any reason why they don't, but they haven't yet.
This person wants to know if you know whether New Japan is going to have an app on Apple TV.
I do not know.
This person says, during Destruction in Kobe, Kevin Kelly teased on commentary that there is good stuff brewing for fans of New Japan in Australia and New Zealand. Do you have any information on this?
Well, they want to run stuff. They were going to run in Australia this year, but it just didn't work out. So the plan is for Australia in 2018 and probably New Zealand as well. So that's the idea. But there's no dates firm or anything like that.
This person says, with the controversy with the Jinner promo, can you discuss if there was any mainstream reaction to the Colonel De Beers gimmick, and what did the wrestlers think of the character by and large?
There was none whatsoever. It was totally underneath the radar. I know people who liked it and people who didn't like it. I mean, he was very good at it. Whether it was a good idea, whether it was a tasteless idea, that's another thing. I mean, AWA was going down, so it's like so it's not like, I don't know. It's not like I can say, like, he got a lot of heat. The crowds got smaller. Did they get smaller because people thought it was tasteless? Or were they going to get smaller anyway? I don't know. I just remember they were way far down. I mean, like in Chicago, they fell from 900 to 300. And it's like, Chicago should be a city that you're drawing thousands in. So it was, but the AWA was just, they were dying at the time. But no, there was no mainstream at all for that. Nobody talked about it. I didn't particularly think that, doing a racist angle was I would never like it anyway. So I didn't like it. And it didn't, it's not like it drew. So whatever.
This person says, if the Matt Capitelli incident with Bob Holly and the JBL goose-stepping incident at a house show in Germany in 2004 happened today in WWE, do you think it would have been handled differently?
I think the Matt Capitelli thing would have, because there would have been such outrage over it, that I think that they probably would have had to suspend Bob Holly over it. The JBL one is interesting because if it was anyone that Vince didn't like, he'd have fired instantly over it then. But because it's JBL, that might have saved him. If it happened now, I think that again, because of social media, I think he'd have been gone. Yeah, I mean, that one got a lot of publicity, and they didn't. He wasn't gone, but I think if it happened now, I'm not sure. Like, if it was somebody else and it happened now, 100% for sure gone, right? But it was like JBL, maybe not. That he might have. I'm not sure about that one.
This person says, I remember hearing that David Von Erich was supposed to get the NWA title from Ric Flair the year he died. Was the 1984 Texas Stadium show planned before David died as the venue for him to beat Flair for the title?
No. They booked the stadium because they knew that Ric Flair and Kerry was way, way, way too big for Reunion Arena. So because of David's death, I mean, that was like the whole story, that Kerry's going to win it for David. So, but no, if Ric Flair was going to wrestle David, I mean, if they had done the match, like, let's say David vows to retire, because they actually did that. They did an angle in the summer of 1983 where David said he beat up Harley Race, because Harley Race was the champion at the time, and he said that if he doesn't win the championship the next time he faces Harley Race, he's going to retire. And I remember, because I was living in Texas at the time, and I was going this is so stupid. David's I forget when his birthday is. So he was either 24 or 25 years old. And it's like, we're supposed, like if he's 40 or something, you know what I mean? Maybe you can buy it. But he's 24 years old. And he's going, if I don't win the title, I'm retiring. We're supposed to buy that this guy's going to retire from wrestling at 24. So I thought it was really weird. But also, it told me that, if he's going to say that means he's probably going to win. But, politics changed and things changed. And I don't know that he was ever promised a date. I mean, he was never promised the championship, but it was kind of understood that he was in line to get it. But, it wasn't necessarily going to be in 1984. And Kerry only won it because of, the feeling that he kind of had to. I mean, it would have been really bad if, David dies and you're going to win the title in David's honor, and then you lose. I mean, that's like Davey Boy Smith's thing, with Shawn, which was, you know what I mean? It's like, that would, like, if Kerry would have, like, not won that match, I mean, I guess, like, if they had done a great finish, he probably could have gotten away with not winning and actually built it up to be bigger later. But at that point, he kind of had to. And it was really, I think that it ended up, that show was a huge success, obviously. But I think that in the long, it actually did some harm, because it's like the whole thing of the babyface chase, then he wins, and then doesn't have it like 3 weeks later. It's like, Kerry especially had chased that title from, really strong for a couple of years. And all of them had, David, Kevin, they'd all chased the championship for years. Fritz had chased it for years, too, for that matter. I mean, the Von Erichs had chased that NWA title. The first Fritz Kaniski program was probably in Dallas, or big program was probably 66. They had the stadium show in probably, I'm thinking 66, 67, maybe 67. So, so you're talking about 18 years. Essentially, it's an 18-year angle. And finally, you pay it off. And then 3 weeks later, Kerry lost the title back to Flair. And it really just, I knew that, again, because of the politics at the time, Kerry couldn't keep the title. Flair had to be champion because it was a Crockett belt by this point, and Kerry wasn't the guy and all that. So it was like circumstances forced things to happen. But since Kerry had already won the title, him chasing it the second time didn't draw nearly as well. And the fact that it hurt, it really hurt Kerry, as far as, that short title reign hurt him. So, yeah, I don't know. That was, but David was going to, in theory at some point get a real run, but the way the politics changed, I don't think he would have, because again, Crockett had pretty much taken over. It wasn't so much a voting thing. It was Jim Crockett's thing. And David was good and all, but he wasn't Ric Flair, at all. And I just can't see Crockett doing a real championship win for David. I mean, yeah, could he have done a 1 week thing or a 3 week thing or something? Sure. But that wouldn't have really benefited anybody either. So yeah, I actually don't think that had David lived, I don't think David would have gotten the world title because of the politics. I mean, if the politics hadn't changed, yes, he would have he would have for sure, just because Fritz had power and David, the kids were over. They were over huge, and they could have gone and drawn with it and everything. And David's a hell of a heel too. So, I think he'd done well, but it's like, again, like a lot of guys in that 80s period, whether it's Ted DiBiase or Steamboat or whatever, like the different guys, Barry Windham, where, that were really good. The idea that, why weren't they champion? The reality is that none of them were anywhere close to Ric Flair as being a champion. And so therefore they shouldn't have been champion, because Ric Flair was better. And, in those days you wanted your best guy as champion. It wasn't like a pass around belt that everybody gets their turn.
All right, everybody, on that note, we're going to wrap it up here for today. We got all sorts of stuff up on the front page. New back issue of The Observer is up. We'll have a new Observer up tomorrow as well. We got a whole bunch of shows.
Tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. Wait, yeah, tomorrow. Today's Tuesday.